All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another 1 Million Cups. We are your organizing team. My name is Lance, Milton, Courtney, Melissa, and Brian. We'd like to start off by asking how many people in the crowd are new to 1 Million Cups today? Raise your hand. Awesome, welcome. So just a little bit about 1 Million Cups for those in first attendance. We've got two great speakers today. They're going to give a presentation about 6 minutes long, and then we open it up to Q&A, in which a couple of us will be wandering around with mics, so just raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll be sure to get to you. All right, how many are savvy veterans? Raise your hand. Awesome. Well, welcome back. Thank you. We also have a special guest. Another fellow organizer from St. Paul is in the crowd. Greg Folks, you stand up. Awesome, thank you. So Greg helped launch St. Paul, and I believe they launched July 16th. So congrats, and thanks for helping spread. Our first presenter is Brock Likens, who's going to tell us a little bit more about Grapevine Events.
What's up, Kansas City? My name is Brock Likens. I just graduated from the University of Kansas, so rock chalk to any Jayhawks out there. No hate on K-State or any other schools, though. My business partner and I developed this business concept back in September, and we went live this summer, so I want to tell you a little more about Grapevine Events. And I don't have my clicker yet. Every year, companies spend millions and sometimes billions of dollars on advertising their brand. Because of their hugely diversified portfolios, they're spending money to advertise in front of women, men, different ages, different activities, things like that. Procter & Gamble alone spent $3.17 billion on advertising last year. This creates a high level of inefficiency as they're advertising to all these different markets, and what we've developed is a way to get in front of their entire target market through one channel. How we do this is through neighborhood events. As you can see here, we gave you all these bags of free stuff. That's always good. We distribute their samples of coupons via party favor bags at the end of these events. They also have the opportunity to do live demos, kind of similar to what you'd see in a mall where they're handing out free samples of food, anything like that. What it results in is increased brand recognition, sales, and feedback, as I'll talk about a little bit later. And these were our 2014 summer sponsors so far. So our inaugural event was earlier this summer. And it's important to know also, though, that because this is a new concept, we're trying to provide a strong point of concept validation. And because of that, we're doing these first 5 events for free. We want to ensure to these companies that our ROI is going to help their company and that it's really going to work for them. And so these companies, even though they didn't pay us any money, it still was encouraging to us that they give us several hundred coupons, because I could have lied and gone in there and gotten 200 free cheeseburgers. So, it's definitely, even though they're not paying, it was definitely fun to see that some big names were willing to invest with us. And a lot of responses that I got were that we need to go to corporate, but it was definitely an interesting experience and a learning opportunity for me to go to all these businesses and tell them about our concept. And as I mentioned, our business is a great way to get feedback for these companies. I don't know if you guys have seen surveys in the back receipts, but I don't really think anybody responds to those. So what we do is we go to these companies after the events and figure out what questions would help them position their companies and improve their services. We go and we compile all the questions into one short survey and send them out to the homeowners, and then for everyone in return, they get $1 to go to a local school of choice. This is a great way to get the customers incentivized to respond and get valuable data for their company's positioning, because as everyone knows, feedback's very hard to get. And I also want to let everybody know that we are currently seeking team members. First of all, it's a fantastic networking opportunity for everyone. I've already met over 100 business owners just going around explaining the concept. It's great to meet everybody. And then also at these events, you're going to meet lawyers, doctors, salespeople, sports enthusiasts, anyone and everyone. So this is your opportunity to network like crazy if you're interested. Also, it's a great opportunity to work in an entrepreneurial environment. You can ask my girlfriend. I pretty much work before I go to work, work after work until I go to bed. And, I really enjoy it. She maybe doesn't, but it's fun for me. So it's definitely something where you can come and help out and really expand your network and grow as an individual and expand your network. And so I know that was short and sweet, but, there's not really, I don't need to make it long. So These are me and Erica. Erica is my business partner. Here's some contact information, and I'd love to hear any kind of questions or feedback you guys would have.
Thank you, Brock. Lance and I will be moving through the crowd. If you've got a question, just raise your hand, and we'll make our way over to you. So first question for you, Brock. Can you tell us just a little bit more on how you came to your business model?
So we were in an entrepreneurship class over at KU, like I said, and my business partner and I were working on an event planning business, and we kind of were talking about weddings and different types of event planning, and we kind of narrowed it down to homeowner associations because I know when I was growing up in my neighborhood in Overland Park, we had Prize Chopper come and sponsor the events, and it was a great way to get people around in the community and get a good fun atmosphere for these companies, and so we felt like getting companies to advertise to the neighborhoods is a great way to get to reach to everybody because, like I said, companies are spending money to reach different segments of their target market. And by going through these neighborhood events, you're going to hit everybody. And also, I know some of you guys probably living in a homeowner association or have recently, they don't have any money to spend. So what we're doing right now is to expedite our growth and offer these services to the HOAs for free to eliminate their stress and the time needed. And that also helps us just befriend the neighborhoods. You know, we're not trying to sell everything to them. We're just going in and enjoying their company and just really expanding our network and, you know, talking to everybody like I was mentioning.
Got a question here in the middle?
So I live in a small neighborhood in the urban core, east side of Troost, and we have all kinds of events that we schedule through the year. And one of the things that we do is a homes tour, and we're fortunate enough to have a little bit of money to fund that homes tour ahead of time, but we get a neighborhood tourist development fund grant, which is reimbursable. And many neighborhoods don't have the money, like they can't even take advantage of that grant because they don't have the money to pay for everything up front. So I think what you're doing is amazing, and I'm wondering if that's a space that maybe you could delve into to help small, maybe under-resourced neighborhoods fund events like that with the corporate dollars that they also, you know, get these NTDF grants for.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And actually, our first event that was on July 5th, the guy told me that literally the only reason we're having this event is because you guys are helping us out and making it easy for us. Because we don't have a lot of money, and it'd be really stressful, but because of you guys, we were able to do this event. So that's a very good idea. Thank you.
Question here on the back right.
Awesome concept. Thank you so much. Do you think you'll ever consider other charities? Schools are great, but I can say as a new nonprofit, getting that word out there is just as important. So is that something you guys will consider?
Yeah. Like I was telling some of the organizers, we presented in 1 Million Cups in Lawrence, and that's one of the points of feedback we got is 5K runs or office parties, things like that. Kind of wanted to focus our resources in one market right now just to make sure we kill it, and then we kind of move on from there. But that's definitely something we talked about, you know, because, you know, you can give free stuff to people at any event, you know, so people are going to enjoy free things. So.
Brock, we got a question in the middle.
Great idea. I'm kind of a side hobbyist event planner myself. So part A is what types of events, or is there really kind of unlimited, whatever they want to do? And it sounds like she already kind of asked it. Do you work with someone who's got an idea or needs to host an event, regardless of with a homeowners association or not, and just, you know, doesn't have the time to do it all and would like some help?
Yeah, like I said, we definitely want to expand to office parties or 5K runs, different sorts of things. But right now we're focused on the HOA, and so because we're not paying for their services, like for the first event we had earlier this month, they had a moon bounce and a magician and different sorts of entertainment, a balloon toss, things like that. And so we worked a lot with the HOA president and his wife and kind of figured out what everything they want to do and just worked within their budget. And so we don't dictate their events. We don't want to come in and be like, this is our event, you know, let us do what we want. So we're just kind of letting them do everything that they want to do, and we're just making it easier for them. So yeah, we work with them to kind of figure out everything they want and help plan it, just make it easy on them.
Another question here in the front.
Thank you. Can you speak to the kinds of things that your organization is doing, what you bring to the event, and also what is your business model for long-term sustainability?
Yeah, we bring to the event is just, again, making it easy on them. You know, we set up a lot of the food and everything. We're handing out hot dogs into the event and, you know, just telling everybody about the free stuff that they can get and helping the kids. You know, some of the kids were getting the moon bounce and the parents were talking to each other and needed help doing that sort of thing. And so, yeah, just really kind of just being a friend and just kind of hanging out with them and, you know, just making it easy. You know, we're not, again, not trying to like sell to them or anything. You know, we just want to be friends and, just build that way. And then I forgot to mention this in the presentation, but there's actually over 300,000 HOAs across the country, across every major city in the United States. And so it's a great way for us to expand. And I really don't see any barriers to entry. We definitely want to be established in Kansas City, but I have a friend in Dallas right now who's interested in why can't we move to Dallas as well. That just further validates our business. We don't have to be killing it here before we can move there because we have such a low overhead business model. Okay, so the companies, yeah, I totally should have mentioned that. So the neighborhood that we had earlier this summer was 413 homes, and so we're looking for about 3 to 5 coupons or samples per company, and so we would charge $1 for each of those, and so it'd be 413 homes times $1 if they just did one, and then we had 12 sponsors, so 413 times 12, and so that kind of expands our network. And some of the feedback we've gotten is to expand and even though homeowner associations don't always have a lot of money, some might. So we talked about a freemium model where you could do a basic free package, and or we can move on and do some extra things for you. But so our model is basically based off of the investors' money from the sponsors. And then one other thing we've been working on is as we develop relationships with vendors for the moon bounce or other sorts of entertainment, we want to create a partnership with them and just get a cut of their profits to make long term.
Got a question here in the middle.
So businesses are overwhelmed with media channels right now and measuring ROI. Do you have any ways to help businesses measure the effectiveness of their sponsorship with your events?
Yeah, that's one thing where definitely is very important for us. So I didn't really have any technology set up to begin with, so I just wrote Grapevine Events and all the coupons, which isn't the most clean way, but it was a good way to make sure they know when they're bringing it back that it's from us. And then I also talked to Christian Brothers Automotive out in Olathe, and they told me that they would be able to write in their barcode, however that system works, to show that that's where it came from. So they'd give us a specific set of them, and then whenever those would come back, whenever it got scanned into the computer, they would be able to see that it was from us.
Got another question here in the middle.
So what is the kind of your ideal neighborhood? Kind of the wish list that's big enough, small enough, right place, wrong place, just on your model?
Well, we found that about the average HOA size, maybe around 250 homes, and so we definitely want enough homes to make it worthwhile to the companies, but it's also challenging to get 400 or 500 coupons on the spot. And I was also talking to a lady named Cindy who said she lives in an All Hills neighborhood, and she said it was like 900 homes, which would be killer for us, but that's also a larger investment for the companies. So I say we're probably in about the 200 to 400 range, just to make it profitable for us and profitable for the companies, but not too much of a hassle, and we can do multiple events. And the neighborhood that we did earlier in July liked it a lot, and we're actually doing an event with him again in about 3 weeks.
Question here on your right.
So it sounds like your target is smaller or maybe amateur event organizers. So how are you increasing your exposure with that target demographic when many of them aren't taking many steps on their own to seek out external organizers?
Do you mean event organizers as in like the moon bounce or things like that?
No, your clients. So like if I'm just Tom, regular person, and I'm organizing a block party, how will I know that you exist?
Yeah. So we're definitely doing a lot of online marketing and a lot of, like I said, I've gone and the neighborhood we went to was at about 145th and Flum. I easily went to over 100 stores within a 2-mile radius just to expand the word. And a lot of people were interested. A lot of people said it was too short a notice. We had to talk to corporate, things like that. But a lot of just face-to-face, because I hate email. I work in an office job as my day job, and ladies in my office, like 10 feet away from me, are emailing me. So it's just ridiculous. And so I really think face-to-face is the best way. So I've been going to a lot of stores. And then also, if corporate isn't in this area, we definitely have to cold call or maybe make a flight out there if we can make some money. But you definitely a lot of face-to-face and word of mouth.
And so what would you say your biggest challenges has been so far?
Definitely, as the gentleman back there asked, was just making sure that the companies ensure that they can get their ROI. Advertising is very tough. There's so many ways to do it, and if you can't get results and have proven statistics showing that it worked, it's just really not worth your time or your money. So making sure through QR codes or other technologies that we can ensure that the companies are going to get the profit that we're telling them they will.
So
Brock, I've got a quick question from the live stream. People in East KCMO are asking if they don't have a homeowners association, would their neighborhood be a good fit for you? Or
Yeah,
Like the home-
definitely. I mean, the general idea is just neighborhoods. Homeowner associations are just, the easiest way to call them just because they're more organized. But as long as someone's willing to work with us and set up their budget and set up what the kind of things that they're wanting, it's definitely something we'd be interested in.
Got a question here.
How are you developing your list of vendors?
So like I said, we're definitely going to a lot of people's face-to-face, and so we're trying to work in the local area on smaller companies.
I'm not talking about the coupons that you're passing out.
okay, I'm
When
sorry.
you talk about doing moon bounds, passing out hot dogs, et cetera, do you have a list of vendors on that?
Yeah, sorry about that. So like I said, we've only had one event so far, and so we kind of price shopped and figured out the best moon bounce company. And so we also have talked to Bowles Foods with Hy-Vee, and so we got some gift cards from them and got our hot dogs from them to try to show a sign of good faith so we can get them on board in the future. And so we'll definitely have to go around and see who's willing to operate a long-term agreement at this point, because it's definitely a good way for us to make money is to get a little cut of their profit and just keep using them so that they'll be profitable too. But we're just getting going and starting with all the vendors.
How many events do you guys have planned out for the rest of the year so far?
So like I said, we have the one coming up in 3 weeks, and then we have 3 in September, and we're constantly calling and talking to more people. And originally when we started this business plan, I've always seen neighborhood events as being a summer thing, but a lot of feedback that we've gotten is that Christmas parties, Halloween parties, New Year's, things like that. So we're really trying to figure out which neighborhoods have the events in the winter, and that way we can keep making money and getting our brand out.
Question here in the front.
Are you generating revenue yet?
No, we're not right now. And so the only revenue we have is we entered a business competition through KU, and we were one of 4 teams selected out of 50 to pitch to the team of investors. And we won the $1,500 first place prize, and so that's what we've kind of been operating on. And because of our low business model, we're not spending anything at these events. The neighborhoods are. And so we only, I already had a table. We already have a canopy. We don't really have a lot of costs. We've only spent about $600 or $700, which is, amazing for us to not have to get, external investing, because I'm not getting anybody a piece of my company.
When you do start generating revenue, like how soon is that going to be? Because that'll truly validate your idea, right? Is that going to be the ultimate proof that it's working or not?
Yeah, definitely. So I'd like to start making money this fall, and I talked to, again, the Christian Brothers Automotive, and they said they'd be interested in paying us for it, even though, like I said, we were doing it for free right now just to prove that it really works. But so, yeah, definitely we need to make money soon to keep going, and so we definitely like to do that, make money, start making money within the next year.
Could you share just a little bit more about the product feedback surveys that you use?
Yeah, so we've gone to companies and we want to ask them, again, with Christian Brothers Automotive, that's just a good example. I asked them, to you guys customers, what's your biggest pain with automotive places? Have you ever heard of us? Things like that, just so they can kind of get a gauge on where you need to focus their marketing and advertising. Because a lot of people, they might not know these smaller brands. Like Christian Brothers Automotive is huge in Texas, but they only got 1 location here. And so just getting the word out about them and just find out the best questions for them. And again, we're not trying to tell them what questions would best help them. They know that way better than us. And so just about compiling their questions, and then also we have questions that'll help us. And so we asked people such as, would you want to do another event with Grapevine Events? What's your top 3 favorite things about neighborhood events? What's your least 3 favorite things? That'll help us up position, and that'll help us take this information to companies. And also, another good piece of information is Esri.com, which is a crazy statistics, like some scary information. How many people in your neighborhood have spent money on dog food in the last 7 days? I don't know how they know that stuff, but it's definitely helpful for us to go to these companies so we can go to Petco and be like, look, this neighborhood has 413 homes. 50% of people spent money on dog supplies in the last month, anything like that, which really helps us. And so we can kind of use those questions to go back and forth and get the best questions to help them.
And I'm not sure if you answered this, but do the sponsors have any say in what schools that you guys give to? Do they have any influence over those decisions?
Not yet. At this point, we're kind of working with the schools just to get their local school system. It's something that would definitely be important because they may be interested in ensuring their corporate responsibility. But at this point, we're kind of trying to work with the schools because I feel like that'll most hit home with them and really benefit them.
Got another question here in the front.
So the surveys sound like they're primarily subjective information, and you are collecting coupon usage, which gives you some objective data. Have you considered working with any existing events to compare, like before your involvement attendance, after your involvement attendance, time invested before, time invested after, some of those more objective measures?
Yeah, it's definitely a good idea, something we need to delve into a little bit more. But if we expand to 5K runs or any kind of other events, we can definitely work with them and see how they're best doing it and kind of befriend them and work on that. But yeah, that's definitely our challenge right now, is making sure that companies know they're going to get their ROI.
To follow on with that question, do you have any systems in place yet to, once you do an event, follow up with that community to see if you can come back, continuously, annually, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. So the neighborhood that we did, the president and I have been in touch a lot after the event, especially because they want to do another event in a couple weeks. And so it's been a good way to just build that relationship and kind of figure out how many events they have a year, and if we can work with them again. And so it's definitely about just being friendly to them and just being nice, and it's all about them. We're not trying to come in and, like I said, take over their event. So we just definitely need to keep up the communication.
And what type of feedback do you get from the people in the community when you're doing the events?
They definitely enjoyed it. It's like I said, we've only had one event, so it's we got limited feedback from the actual homeowners. Most of our feedback has been from you guys or companies or people I've talked to in the Kansas City area. But one of the homeowners, Jill, said that she actually took her 4 kids after the swimming party and went to Orange Leaf, which was one of our sponsors. And so that was a great way to just kind of show that it works and that they enjoyed the idea.
Got a question here in the middle.
You keep directing your questions or your answers to homeowners associations. Have you thought of neighborhood associations and other types of associations like that?
I'm unfamiliar with the difference between a neighborhood association and a homeowner association. But so, we definitely like the live stream question asked, really just want to focus on neighborhoods right now because we feel like it hits everyone. And so we've mainly focused around HOAs, but as we figure out what works and what doesn't work, we'll definitely be able to position better and change our strategy.
In an ideal situation, how many events do you think you could handle on a weekly or a monthly basis?
Depends if we can get people on board. Like I said, we're definitely looking for partners right now because between my 3 jobs, I'm definitely passionate about the cause, but I just need some help, and so I can definitely. We'd like to do at least 50 events next year and keep expanding and get to a couple of new cities in the next couple of years. But that's really just a matter of proving that the companies are going to make money and then finding team members to rally around us.
Got a question here in the middle.
So mine's a follow-up on the last question, and that is, have you considered going to parent-teacher associations? Because often their members are business owners as well as local area chambers of commerce. And if you talk to them.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea, and that's something, especially with the Sense for Schools program, with the feedback, that they're definitely interested because they kind of have control of the schools and everything. And so because we're in the middle of getting the feedback right now, we just sent out the survey for the last event maybe about a week ago, and so after that, we're definitely going to go to the schools, and so the PTA would be some good people to talk to about that, so thank you.
Question here in the front.
It's like half question, half suggestion. Just with hearing other people coming up with ideas for schools and other organizations, I think any nonprofit that might be putting on a 5K or an event like that would be something that you guys could probably work toward too.
Yeah, I love nonprofits, so that's a good idea. Thank you.
And you had kind of touched on some of your staffing needs. Can you just share a little bit more about that? What are you looking for as far as staffing and help? Is it all volunteer or?
No, so definitely, we're not going to just make you do stuff for us and then kind of just be like, okay, thank you. And so, first of all, we kind of want somebody to be a social media manager, work on our Facebook, on our Twitter. We're not super big on Twitter right now just because it's kind of hard to get out a good message in 140 characters or less. So I've been using Facebook more a little bit, so we definitely wanted somebody to control our online marketing so that Erica and myself can focus on more value-creating activities and things that are more important, like gaining the customers and that sort of thing. And then also just, an executive partner, just somebody to help us with strategy, long-term and short-term, and just getting our word out there. We're definitely just looking for partners. And I've actually been working with a company called U-Hoops. I think DeMarcus is back there somewhere. But they got a group of 4 or 5 guys, so it's definitely a lot of fun getting guys together and just, building the brand and expanding our network.
Brock, thank you. What we'd like to do right now is ask one more question before we let you go, and that is, as a community, what else can we do to help you?
Yeah, definitely. And I had another slide for this, but it's not very, it's all good. And so I just, first of all, just be a friend. As I've been going around in the community, everyone's really supportive. I love going to Think Big Co-working or Sprint Accelerator, or just different areas with entrepreneurs. Everyone's real passionate about their businesses, and I find just bouncing ideas off each other and gaining new perspectives is always very helpful. And I definitely love talking to other people's businesses, and so I'd love to just be friends and kind of figure out how we can help each other and see what everybody's working on. And then obviously, if you enjoy the concept, you can get your neighborhood on board and get your company on board. And I'd love to meet all you guys, and thank you very much for your time. It's kind of wrapped underneath my shirt here.
Thank you, Brock. We've got just a few announcements. If you look at the announcements handout that you've got on your chair there are a few things coming up pretty quickly here. We wanted to make a special announcement. The KC Wordshop is doing an introduction on Friday, August 1st. KC Wordshop is a space for young people to create, hone, and broadcast projects generated by language. And I believe Paul came and presented here at 1 Million Cups, so we'd like to support him if possible. If you look at the sheet, there's a few things going on. You can just take a quick look at that. But also notice at the bottom, the Collab Brew is a new campus event being put on by the KU Med Center. Also, the Sprint Accelerator has an event coming up for this first Friday. It is the International Air Guitar Museum. It's supposed to be a really creative event. It's first Friday. Please see their website even for more information. Tuesday is Election Day. We just want to remind everyone, please go out and vote. And we also know that there is a kids competition for entrepreneurship going on with the Missouri State Fair, and we really just want to wish them all luck. I'd like to bring Amanda up for just a moment to also make another special announcement.
Hi, I'm Amanda Sneeders with the Kauffman Foundation. I'm part of the Kauffman Founder School team, and just kind of want to let you guys know, like it says in your announcements, we launched a new series last week with Daniel Pink, who is a best-selling author of books like To Sell Is Human and Drive, and it's all about leadership and motivation. So one of the things we know in Kauffman, and I'm sure a lot of you in the room know, is that once you're building an idea, it becomes a lot bigger than just you. You start hiring people, you start creating a team, and this series is all about how you lead and motivate that team for a more engaged workforce. So I'd like to show you a little intro. Hit it, Dave.
Using a mix of old-fashioned reporting and interviews along with cutting-edge social science, I'm trying to unlock the secret. What does work mean to us? Why do we do it? And how can we do it better in ways that fulfill us more deeply? We have certain kinds of preconceived notions about what motivates people. We all think it's about calibrating the rewards and punishments properly. So if we dangle the right carrot or threaten people with the right stick, it's all going to work out fine. And what 50 years of social science tells us is it's not that easy. If you really want enduring motivation, you have to do things in your company that go with the grain of human nature rather than against it. I'm Daniel Pink, and for the last 20 years, I've been studying organizations and the people inside of them. In this series, I want to share with you 3 core principles that we know lead to enduring motivation, particularly for small firms and entrepreneurial companies. We're also going to talk about how to be more persuasive, how to sell a little bit more effectively, not based on tricking people, not based on folklore about sales, but based on some very, very hard-headed evidence of how to move other people, whether they're your existing customers, whether you're prospects, or whether they're the people who work inside of your company.
So we'd love for you guys to check out the new series and see everything it has to offer on motivation and leadership.
All right, coming to the stage next to present, I believe, are Michael and Shannon of Biology Rocks.
Thank you. Good morning. Hi, I'm Shannon Ralph. I teach biology in Dodge City, which is on the western part of the state.
And I'm Michael Ralph. I also teach biology, but I teach here in the Kansas City area. I teach over in Olathe. And just to address the mystery now, I am her son. That's why we share that last name. So mystery solved, and we can just go ahead and move right on. Biology Rocks, we're an education company, and we focus on inquiry. Inquiry, for those of you that are not education people, is having students ask questions and then seek answers to those questions. It's not a new thing. It's been around for quite a while. Most teachers agree it works. It's a really good deal. Unfortunately, most teachers also don't do it.
And why don't they do it? Lots of reasons, but some key reasons are because they're not trained to teach in that way. A lot of times they don't have the materials or the support that they need to teach in that way.
So into this space, Biology Rocks steps. We want to solve that problem of getting more teachers to do more inquiry. And so we offer two specific things. We offer training and we offer materials to support teachers in doing more inquiry in their classroom.
So one of the things that we do is professional development for other teachers. We do that by going into school districts and we teach them how to teach in this way, but we also attend national conferences and do workshops in which we present this material.
So one step is training, the other step is actual physical resources that we offer teachers that they can use back in their own classroom. We have several publications that we offer, but our flagship product is Biology Rocks, and that is a lab manual intended for teachers to be able to do more lab experiences in their classroom. And it's an exciting time for us because here in 2 weeks we launch the second edition of Biology Rocks. The second edition is significantly different from the first edition.
Well, and the reason it's different is because our first edition, we tried using a very traditional model. We hired and contracted our artwork, our editors. We were self-published, and so we had to pay for hard copies. We had deadlines, and so once we met those deadlines, we weren't able to change anything. We ended up with these hard copy books that we then had to distribute.
So none of that is terribly earth-shattering. That sounds like a traditional publishing model. However, as you can tell, we are not national professional publishers. That's not what we do. So we had several challenges in trying to do this traditional publishing methodology as an independent publisher. Primarily, we didn't have enough exposure because we're just two teachers here in Kansas compared to a national publisher with a national presence. We couldn't get the word out. We couldn't get enough people to know about this thing that we were doing and this product that we were offering. And associated with that, we also didn't have the scale advantage of some of the national publishers. So we had a very high cost per product. So every time we sold a book, we had to make an initial investment to produce that book, and that really cut into our profit margin. So while we were cost competitive with what you would consider the similar products out on the market, we did not have the profit margin in order to be able to reach, we didn't get in the black. We didn't turn a profit on that first edition.
So when we got ready to do the second edition, we said, okay, we really need to take a step back and go, how can we change what we do? And the first thing we had to look at is, I mean, honestly, do you have a decent product? And we went back and looked at some of our surveys from our conferences and the feedback we got from teachers that purchased our materials, and it was overwhelming. You guys are awesome. Well, not we, but the product. I mean, we love teaching this way. We love the book. We love what it does for students. We love the engagement. We love everything about this. So we had nothing but positive feedback about the product itself, which told us maybe we need to look at the marketing side.
And so to kind of throw in a story here, because of course not many people are going to be willing to say negative things to somebody, but one story I really like to share from an early conference that we provided a workshop. We talked to about 36 teachers in a workshop for about an hour, showing them how to work with one specific activity in the book, and they were so enthused by the product that we sold every example book we brought with us just to show the materials to people. In a non-sales setting, to teachers in a situation where they didn't even anticipate bringing their credit cards, we sold everything we had. So those actions spoke pretty loud to us that the demand is still there. There was nothing like Biology Rocks when we produced the first edition. There is still nothing like Biology Rocks today. So how can we do a better job of distributing these materials to teachers that need them? So the second edition is coming out. All the associated improvements that you would anticipate in a second edition are there. We have new content for the old materials. We have brand new lab experiences to include with the old stuff. And we're NGSS aligned. If you're an education person, you know that those are new standards that are a big deal across the country. So all of those things are there. But we're also changing dramatically the way we intend to distribute the second edition.
So probably the two key things that we're doing differently to try and reach more people is we're doing a digital product. We're not even going to try to print hard copies. And so everything will be available immediately to whomever would like to purchase it. The second thing we're doing, I don't know if you know too many teachers, but some teachers have to purchase things out of their pocket and aren't able and or willing to spend a lot of money for that. And so we're going to pay what you want model. And I don't know if you've seen these slide scales. These are pretty common, but it'll slide all the way to 0. We will offer a digital copy to whomever, even if they can't afford to pay anything. all the way up to you guys are rock stars and I'm going to give you the top dollar. So they can choose what they want to pay for this product.
We could do those two things because we addressed some of those problems that we identified in the first edition with that traditional publishing model. We have dramatically reduced our cost per unit because we don't have to make that initial investment to print our hard copies. We have a minimal cost to us as content producers for every copy that we offer. So if somebody chooses to download it and make no contribution to pay $0, that doesn't really hurt us. In fact, we're pretty excited because that's one more teacher that's using these materials and helping students. So we're pretty happy about that. But to do that, we had to reduce our cost in producing these units. So we've taken steps to try and limit the amount of investment on our side so that we can make it more freely available to teachers and to some of our other new demographics that we're trying to target with the second edition, most notably new teachers, so pre-service or recent grads who really need to fill their toolbox with these materials. We can offer it to them at no cost because they may not have a budget to spend out of in the first place.
And the last thing I'm going to mention is the other key thing we're doing differently is when we got done the first time, we had no market plan. Honestly, we okay, we have this book. Awesome. Here's a book. We really didn't have a plan. And now we have a marketing director, and we have a social media campaign. So we're purposefully going out and trying to tell people this product's available.
What questions do you have?
Oh, great. Thank you. I'll get it started. I've got a couple questions. What do you have against chemistry? Just kidding. Okay. What do the school districts, do they have an opinion about this? Have you heard from them? Do you talk to them?
That's a great question. Actually, school districts are pretty positive about this, and primarily because with the new science standards, it is keenly focused in on inquiry teaching. And so to be able to say to a curriculum committee, for example, that we can deliver content in an inquiry way and make your students better thinkers, and really this can be adapted truly all the way down to an elementary level. And I know that because I did that last week at a STEM camp with 5th graders, a modified lab, all the way up to advanced placement and pre-service teachers. And so this type of learning is very attractive to districts.
Got a question here in the center.
So I'm not an educational professional. I'm over here on the left. Can you explain the difference between the traditional way of teaching biology and your way, or maybe just an example or two?
Sure.
Thanks.
So in a more traditional setting, in fact, probably what many of you have experienced when you were in high school, however long ago that may have been, if you sit down and a teacher stands up here and I say to you, this is science, and you say, okay, I write that down. Here is a worksheet, tell me what science is, and you say, it is this, and I tell you you are correct. And then on the test I ask you again, what is science, and if you remember it's this, then you win. That's a traditional model. You are regurgitating the things that I have told you to tell me. In an inquiry model, you're asking the questions and you are building an understanding without it originating from the teacher. So your experience, your inquiry into that phenomenon is building your understanding. And it's exciting, especially in science, because that's how actual professional scientists work. There is nobody that knows the answer, so they must go seek it out themselves. So it is using that same model in the classroom.
Question here on your left.
Can you talk a little bit about your marketing strategy? I heard pre-service teachers, current teachers, and curriculum committees. Sounds like 3 different touch points. Which one are you really going after?
I would say all 3, honestly, however we can get it out there. But for people in my age demographic, this social media thing, it's a little new to it and I'm trying. But so the social media is to hit the younger teachers, touch points. Curriculum committees are quite often who teachers have to go through to be able to purchase curricula. And so even if I think this is an awesome idea, in many districts, if I think this is an awesome idea and I don't want to pay for it out of my pocket, I usually have to go through a committee and then support the idea that it'll support our standards, usually. And then the other one we're doing is we're still attending national conferences to hit those folks that are coming in. A lot of the newbies go to these national conferences to learn this very thing.
So we want to try and target several different demographics. You're correct. The social media is focusing more on early teachers, new teachers, pre-service teachers. So with our digital presence, that's who we're trying to appeal to. But as she mentioned, the curriculum development committees and the decision makers for district-wide adoption, those are something where really word of mouth is what drives it. They don't have time to be surfing the net looking for what's new out there. We've got to get a department chair excited. We've got to get a teacher with some clout excited to bring it to their curriculum folks. And so that's more often what happens at the conferences or the in-person functions.
Question here in the middle.
So I keep hearing teachers, but is this available just for the curious individual or the homeschooling parent, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, yes, that would be awesome. It'd be awesome. Because it's online and because we have a website, truly anybody can go to our website and get this curriculum. So it would be perfect for, especially if you're homeschooled with someone who feels less confident in life science. This is written to be student-friendly and teacher-friendly. I mean, it's teachers for teachers. And so the verbiage in there is written in a way that someone who even doesn't feel that strong in this area can read it and have the support that they need to be able to do these particular labs and activities. So it'd be perfect for homeschool.
And that's actually a change in this second edition. Because the first edition, because of our pricing model associated with our costs, was something where it was prohibitively priced for somebody, an individual or a homeschool parent. And so that's something that we've changed now in this second edition.
Got a question here in the middle?
So I was at William Jewell and UMKC both this week, and they have experiential learning classrooms, and we also hear flipping the classroom. So how does your program vary from those types of learning models?
They are not mutually exclusive. And experiential learning, just judging by what it sounds like, is probably very similar, a lot of overlap to inquiry. They're probably very similar processes. Flipping the classroom is really a way of delivering some of the more structured content or the preparation. You can flip some of the lab activities, but a lot of it requires being in the lab to be able to use the equipment and the resources. This fits with flipping. As a matter of fact, I flip a lot of my lab work. We have an associated YouTube channel with lab walkthroughs and some of the worksheets you can give to students ahead of time. So it is very conducive to classrooms that choose to flip.
What I'm just going to mention too, one of the advantages of this curriculum is that teachers a lot of times just don't have time to develop the materials. So that's where we stepped in. We took the time to develop it so that they could do those things. So that it can come to them, it's done, it's ready, so now I can go to work with my students. Yeah.
Could you guys tell us your website address, please?
BiologyRocks.org.
.org?
.org. Or if you just Google Biology Rocks, we are now search engine optimized, so we'll be the first one.
Excellent. Okay, I've got a question here to your right.
Hey guys, great presentation. I love your energy. It's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the mother-son dynamic here?
Well, just briefly, it's actually a pretty cool story. So I've been teaching, forever. And Michael came through my classroom in both honors biology and he took advanced placement biology from me. And as you can imagine, I don't know, I guess I should let him speak to if that was cool or not. I don't really know. I thought it was cool. And when he went to, he's KU grad as well. And so I should let him tell you how he got hooked into teaching.
Yeah, so brief plug, You Can't Teach program, if you have science enthused people that might be considering education, it is a phenomenal education program at KU. I strongly recommend it, they were awesome. Anyway, they're very big on inquiry. As a matter of fact, I didn't learn any other way, and so I didn't know that inquiry was so awesome until I got out and started attending some of the national conferences and found that teachers are clamoring for inquiry resources. It is not typically disputed that inquiry is a big deal, and I thought, I am trained in this thing. I can't believe how fortunate I am to have been trained from the beginning in doing this inquiry stuff. And so I brought it to my mother, who is a practicing teacher, and said, here's these cool resources, here's this cool way of doing things. And she was aware of those things, but it really, I think, pushed you to kind of dive in with both.
Carly, now, in my defense, I wasn't taught to teach in that way either. And so if there happen to be educators that are a little nervous about this, I was a little nervous, but I would say that I went to another large state university, a conference there, and they had a class specifically teaching biology using inquiry, and I was really intrigued by that and brought it back to my principal, and I said, I'd really like to do this in the high school level. And it took a little while for that to cook and develop, and so when Michael actually had then the credentials to be able to do that, that's how we teamed up and became really put this curriculum together. So it's sort of the perfect storm of of these things coming together. But the first time I did it truly was a push from him. That's true.
Question here on your left.
Yeah, in regards to your second edition and your dynamic pricing, have you seen the book price, average book price increase, decrease, or stay the same?
It's a little bit of an apples and oranges situation because the first edition is still available in a physical copy. And we actually adjusted our pricing model when we made this decision on the physical copy of the book as well, and took it from and moved from a retail-only availability to pay what you want, honestly, to just get the last of the physical books out into the world. And we have been surprised to see, obviously, very few people are paying full retail price for the first edition. But this physical copy of the book, we're above cost on many of the books that we're selling using this sort of interim pay what you want model on the first edition. And I think that's the best way I can answer it.
It's interesting. No one has paid nothing for that hard copy. So that's good.
Got a question here in the back right?
I'm not sure if I'm not fully understanding or what, but is the inquiry, is it give the room for, say, a new thought, like a not so mainstream thought that someone would bring this up and they could go through like the scientific model to prove or disprove a certain theory or that kind of, is that what it goes towards, or is it is there room for that, for like, say, spending like a day or two or a week on something that's not so already in the curriculum?
I think we should probably both address that, but I would say that absolutely. This is definitely aligned to state science standards. So if someone wants to just say, okay, I want to make sure I cover all my standards, this lab book would 100% cover those state standards. But a section we have in every single lab and activity are extensions. So we offer ideas. You could do this other thing to increase the inquiry, for example, or increase, if you're going to a higher level student, you could do this thing, and from that a teacher could totally take off with it. So it really just lays the base work in which you could go either direction.
Yeah, so I think maybe to answer for the non-education folks, inquiry is a spectrum. You're not inquiry yes or inquiry no. So what you're talking about, kind of finding your own direction and going off and seeking the answer, that is very far over on the spectrum of open inquiry. Yes, that is a big part of the way inquiry can work. Yes.
Got a question up front?
So this is a question from the Twitter feed, and they want to know if you're planning on keeping your curriculum open source forever, if you're ever going to protect that intellectual property.
It is not open source. It is not open source. It is still copyrighted material. We are just offering it potentially for free. Pay whatever you can pay, whatever your budget allows. But it is copyrighted. You may have seen on the slide, if you're thinking about copyright protection, we are not doing any sort of DRM. We are offering it just as a simple PDF. If they choose to pirate it, so be it. And that decision was made ultimately because we want more teachers to get it. We didn't have enough exposure in the first edition, so if people are pirating it, people are reading it. And so we're going to be okay with that.
Got a question here in the middle.
So with this new methodology, how are you anticipating validating that it's bringing up test scores, which is what all school districts are really interested in? Bingo?
And we didn't even plant that question.
We kind of glossed over that. We did a study. We actually collected data when we first generated the Biology Rocks curriculum, and we did an actual scientific experiment where we had control classes and we had experimental classes using these resources. Same teacher, same year. Half of his classes he was using his existing curriculum. Half of his classes he walked in ready to start the year in August, and we said, poof, here are all these resources, use them. And he saw significant gains on his standardized tests. So on the state mandated and the district mandated standardized tests, he saw scoring gains. So we have that data in hand. And there are other larger scale studies that support inquiry in general, but we have that data from our original pilot supporting the efficacy of these specific materials.
We also have some subjective data. So our principal came in and sat down with those kids at the end of the semester and kicked the teacher out and said, I want to hear about what you think about this new curriculum. And we have some of that documented as well, but overwhelming Kids loved it. So they have the scores, tells us they're getting content, but they also walk out of the room liking science. And one kid even said to our principal, what? I don't want to offend anybody in the room, but said, how come our math teachers don't teach this way? So the kids loved it. They loved it.
Question on the back left.
This is just sort of out of curiosity, since you're biology teachers from Kansas, does your marketing plan have any sort of contingency towards like fighting a reputation that Kansas may already have in the future, like from the past?
That's actually an interesting question because we acknowledge I know what you're referencing with some of the science denier issues out there, and so the general public has that conception, but actually Kansas has a pretty rich science teacher community. The KABT, the Kansas Teacher Community, plug again, KABT.org. KABT has one of the most trafficked in the country professional organization websites. So we don't have much of a problem with that because Kansas, you may be surprised to know, has a pretty decent reputation in science education.
And it's also interesting when we go to conferences, especially on the coast, when people come in and they come to our presentation, by the end, they love it. I mean, they're like, you guys, kind of, this is good stuff. And so it has not been a hindrance to this curriculum. But that's a good point, yeah.
Got another question here in the middle?
Can you speak to your competition? It sounds like you're at KU, and they're all based on inquiry-based teaching. It seems to me that why would the national publishers not want to have this in their curriculum? Is that a major sticking point? And then finally, it seems like you're really geared more towards nonprofit objectives. Are you guys nonprofit and take donations, or are you strictly profit?
Well, I'll tackle the national publishers, and the biggest answer is they should want this. I mean, they should, because teachers are clamoring for it, and the things that they offer and the workshops that we've been to that they've put on they may have some kind of curriculum, but they don't address or teach teachers, how do I walk in the classroom and do this? How do I do this? Think about my age. I didn't learn how to do that, and so I don't know. So part of it is they don't have the support for it, the training for it. That's a piece of it, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know that I can prove.
And the second part he asked was.
Can you remind me of the second one?
It seems like you were at nonprofit motives.
Yeah.
The straightforward answer is we are for profit and we hate money. So we're educators first, and so we want to share these materials as our primary motive. If we can break even and not lose money while we do it, that's really where we want to be. But we care more about getting inquiry out there than we care about making money, I guess.
We're super excited about it. So if we would make a bunch of money, that'd be awesome.
Sure, yeah. We can take donations. They're pay what you want model. You can buy a book and then not download the book, I guess. So we can absolutely accept donations, but they wouldn't be donations. They would just be a contribution, I suppose.
Got a question here to your right.
Hi, I work for the Kansas City STEM Alliance, providing wraparound support to the 27 school districts in the greater Kansas City area implementing Project Lead the Way, which is an inquiry-based curriculum, but they are elective pathways. And so to see core curriculum looking at inquiry-based, I know that the students and teachers, of which there's 14,000 students in this area, over 250 teachers teaching Project Lead the Way, they love inquiry-based education. But these are elective pathway courses in the school district. So to see core curriculum being able to offer that is huge. And I think we will see, as this gets rolled out, huge changes for students as they see the connectivity in the real world.
Thank you, because I agree with you. And the hope is this, that even if every single student in our classroom doesn't become a scientist, they're not going to. But you know what? They're going to be better thinkers. And it doesn't matter what the content is. If they're better thinkers, when we send them off to trade school or a 2-year or a 4-year school, those are the people that are going to make a difference in our world. So we believe so strongly in that we know that starting in this classroom, that absolutely is going to make a difference for these kids, for sure.
We got a question way here in the back middle.
Hi, so I'm curious to know how much you know about your customers, and in particular, who pays more and who pays less for your product?
I don't think that we do know that.
We don't.
I don't know
I don't think that's something we track.
We don't know. Because this pay what you want model is so new, and we're both teachers by trade, so we're also fairly new to running a business, honestly. With our marketing person now being involved, we're going to do a better job of tracking that moving forward, but that is not something that we've been able to track thus far.
Okay, before we let you go, we always ask the last question, which is what, as a community, can we do for you?
Primarily, as we mentioned, exposure was a big issue for us in the first edition, so just letting you all know, having any of you tell anybody else who may want to know, just tell folks about it. We're pretty excited, but we're only one voice, so we would really, any exposure assistance you can offer, we'd really appreciate. And the second half of that, because up until very recently, it's been primarily the two of us doing the work. Our website was, one of us has to learn how to build a website, and when we wanted to incorporate, we had to actually have my father do it because he's a lawyer. We don't have legal on retainer, so we've been sort of wearing many hats. So if you know anybody who wants to be involved, we don't have specific openings or work needs, but we could sure use some help. So we can't be more specific than that, but we could sure use some help.
Yeah, and tell those districts that to get excited about inquiry learning, and particularly in content areas, because it works and kids love it and makes better students. Yeah, so get the word out.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming out today. I hope to see you guys next week.